Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about astrology and Antonio Brown leaving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, some of you may know that Antonio Brown is an NFL wide receiver, very prolific NFL wide receiver, I would say, but he's been notorious for having some unpredictable, angry, acrimonious outbursts on the field and off the field. And this one was on the field that took place today. The head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Bruce Arians, stated that Antonio Brown is no longer a Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I don't know if that was because Antonio Brown himself said he was gone or what have you. I think from what I saw in the video, it appeared that Antonio Brown had basically declared he was leaving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But however it went down, he is no longer with them. And to me, he taking his shirt off and jersey off, and, on the field, and, waving goodbye and so abruptly and leaving the team pretty much high and dry, and just I don't really know, how to really respond to it. I just hope, I believe he does likely need some kind of, assistance somehow. And there was a little bit of debate on one of those shows on NFL shows on TV, like a post-game report or halftime report or something. And they were talking about, some of the, I guess you call them commentators or analysts, were stating, they thought he does need some kind of assistance. And then there were some others. There was one that was basically saying, we don't want to, basically declare that yet. We basically want to, we don't want to just rush to judgment or, cast aspersions or what have you. I mean, I'm not somebody that can professionally evaluate anybody, but I do, from what I've seen, it seems like in all likelihood that there is something not right with Antonio Brown. And I believe I stated this in the previous video I made about him. I'm going to talk about some natal placements and transits. Might be tied in with some issues he may be dealing with, and in the event that took place today, that was really, of course, very spontaneous, unpredictable, to really say the absolute least. That would be a vast understatement. But the thing, I don't have his time of birth, and so of course, I naturally had to improvise and do a solar / sunrise chart in which I put the sun at the same spot as the ascendant. And anyway, Antonio Brown is first off, I'm going to talk about the fact he is a Cancer sun. That, Cancer, sun in Cancer, his basic character, which is the sun sign being in Cancer. It can indicate a nature that can be fickle and temperamental and moody and very sensitive to the environment that's around him. And in as far as criticism and any ridicule that could be, something where he could be more sensitive to than most people. It does help that he has a Gemini moon. He has the same sun-moon combination I have, ironically. And that combination right there, the sun in Cancer and moon in Gemini, of course, could be very mercurial and changeable. I have a Taurus ascendant, of course, which grounds us. Now, I don't know Antonio Brown's time of birth. Of course, I don't know his ascendant, but it seems like he's got, fiery, outer nature. It seems like it could be Aries or Leo, maybe the ascendant, but that's, again, of course, just speculation on my part. I don't know 100% what it is, but wouldn't surprise me if he has an Aries or Leo ascendant. Because a lot of this is like attention, it seems like, that he wants garnered toward him, and it's like it makes me wonder if he may be Leo rising, but I do think it may be Aries or Leo as far as his ascendant goes. But anyway, some other energy in his chart. Well, based on the solar / sunrise time, Jupiter at least makes a loose conjunction to his moon in Gemini, which of course that could enlarge very high-strung, emotional, excitable, emotional reactions. Jupiter, again, I've stated this in previous videos, that Jupiter could be very paradoxical, even though it's strongly benign and benevolent. It could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. It can enlarge the emotional nature of a person if you have it conjunct the moon. Another thing, in his chart, notice too, based on solar sunrise time, he does have, his Mercury is in Gemini in the 12th house, and the 12th house is the house of mental illness. He has Mercury square his Mars in Pisces. And the thing, what this could tell me is, if there is indeed, if he does have any, mental, if there's any kind of emotional or mental, issues that he's dealing with. I'm looking at this Mars square to Mercury. It's a tight square, and Mars in Pisces, by itself could give very confounding, angry outbursts where he might not even know 100% why he's acting, out, or why he's becoming angry. It could be, in some cases, it can, and I don't know this for a fact in his, instance, because we don't know anything 100% with Antonio Brown as far as his mental state and what he's doing. But in some instances, Mars and Pisces can have drug or alcohol fueled rage too. And then you have this squaring Mercury in Gemini. If that is the case, that could exacerbate perhaps an issue if there is a mental issue. Mercury in Gemini, I'm not talking about Mercury in Gemini having an issue. In fact, it's in the 12th house in his solar/sunrise chart. But the fact is, he would have difficulty articulating this matter because Mars is squaring Mercury. So the issues with anger would be difficult for him to articulate. When he does verbalize, I'm sure he does it very well, because Mercury, is in it's in its dignity in Gemini, and he probably, he could speak, very, very articulate and eloquent manner, and probably likely has the ability to understand virtually any subject and talk about manifold things. Now he also has Chiron is in the 12th house, and Chiron is about suffering. He has it in the zodiac sign Cancer in the 12th house, and it's also conjunct his Mercury. That the conjunction of Mercury to Chiron by itself may sometimes manifest in some suffering a person may be going through on a mental level. And Chiron being in the zodiac sign Cancer, it can be something. There might be some issues, dealing with criticism or ridicule, as some examples. And thing is, too, he also has his Mercury opposing Saturn. So it shows a lot of his thinking, sadly, could be very negative and pessimistic. Saturn is in Sagittarius. Now Saturn in Sagittarius by itself, he does have that actually in the solar sunrise chart in his 6th house of work and employment. Saturn in Sagittarius by itself could indicate a career in sports. And he has Uranus conjunct Saturn, which could give an unusual ability for that as well. Uranus is also connected with television. But what I want to say is that, having Mercury, opposing Saturn can indicate thinking that can often be negative and pessimistic. And Saturn being in Sagittarius, it can be about matters with sports or expanding horizons. Saturn in Sagittarius, though it's generational, I would say could have limitations in terms of the philosophical beliefs and outlook. And it tells me he might need to maybe start, maybe listening, if he hasn't done so already, listening to other, some other people. Perhaps if he's only listening to himself, maybe he needs to start, talking to other people and getting some insight from others as well. I want to go back. Hold on a moment, people. want to go back to his Mercury square Mars square. There is, as some of you may have heard of, something called a dual diagnosis disorder, when you could have one problem exacerbate another. You could have, if there's something going on, there's somebody's doing something with drugs, and I'm not saying he is, but if he is, it could be exacerbating an issue that could be happening emotionally or mentally. And Mars in Pisces can have a greater propensity for having rage connected with drugs or alcohol if that's what the person is doing. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but and the thing is, it could exacerbate an already an existing mental condition. And the thing is, no matter how you look at it, he does. I mean, I would say it's very safe to say he does need to at least be talking to somebody or consoling with somebody at this point in time. And it's just terrible that something like this had to happen. And he might just and as one of the NFL commentators say, I mean, we don't want to rush to judgment, cast aspersions or whatever he said, basically stating that we don't really know 100% if there is actually something as far as needing some assistance. Is that actually applying to Antonio Brown? And I respect and understand that, and that is true. I mean, that is true. We don't have the evidence really in front of us to state that, but the thing about this is he does there still is something that I would say needs to be looked at to see if really, as far as the behavior, because what you're doing, what he's doing, on the field, off the field, there might just be something where there could be something where he just had an outburst. That's what one of the commentators had alluded to, that something could just have happened where he just he reacted in an angry, irrational manner, and that could be possible too. And it's something, again, we don't want to rush to judgment or cast aspersions, but as I stated earlier in the video, if I was leaning toward one or the other, I think he does need, I think in all likelihood he does need some assistance. That's where I would lean, where it would be more probable. But again, we don't know that 100%. And the thing is, I noticed something else too. He has an interesting transit with the North Node is approaching his natal Jupiter in Taurus. It's not far from it right now. And when you have the North Node involved in transit, it could indicate issues that one may have to address and confront. And Jupiter is connected with sports, and Taurus is the sign of money. And it's and he has the Jupiter and Taurus in the 11th house of groups, clubs, and organizations. This is a team situation, of course, organization, as you could say, and something that he wanted to show loyalty to, which is Taurus. Jupiter and Taurus can be lucky when being loyal and steadfast, and when being persistent, and showing certain trustworthiness. But now there's issues, with the transit of the North Node approaching his natal Jupiter. It can be issues that he has to address and confront regarding this at this time, and it could be some issues with money with the sport. Now, will he ever play football again? Who really knows? Somebody may take a chance on him if they're really in desperate need of a wide receiver. They may be willing to do it, but obviously they can be taking a chance. Another thing too I noticed is that transit Mars at the time this video is transit Mars looks like it is making an opposition to his natal Venus in Gemini. And Mars, the transit of Mars in Sagittarius collectively may manifest in reckless anger, angry outbursts that are reckless. It might be due to being self-righteous. So I'm going to do what I want. It doesn't matter what anybody else is going to do. And it's opposing the Venus And Venus is about money. It's about our enjoyment. And Gemini, Venus and Gemini could be money in doing manifold things. If he is involved in any endorsements, maybe they might drop him because of this. Again, you have the opposition with Mars, to the natal Venus and Gemini, and of course that it's an adversarial aspect, and it might this anger, this outburst might affect something of a monetary nature down the road. And the thing is, on the one positive end, is that transit Mars in Sagittarius sometime in the near future is going to conjoin his natal Saturn, and maybe that could put a little bit of a clamp on his anger, maybe discipline it to some degree. But at the same time, right after his Mars hits Saturn, it's going to be hitting Uranus. And Uranus, of course, conjoining Mars can suggest very unpredictable angry outbursts as well. And Mars in Sagittarius, even though transit in general, can also indicate arguments over philosophies and beliefs and issues that are involving sports. Now, I'm only trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to get at. Well, another thing I noticed too in this chart, it's an interesting aspect, and this is just based on the solar slash sunrise time, is that he has Mars, the moon appears to be in conjunct Pluto in his chart. And inconjuncts in astrology can often be about adjustments. And when you have, Pluto, is Pluto in Scorpio, although it's generational, Pluto in Scorpio by itself may indicate secrets. Pluto is about secrets, and it could be something of a psychological nature. Scorpio is a sign of psychology. And having the moon in Gemini may often feel like being very loquacious, voluble. And the thing about it is that could indicate to me, when you have this aspect, that could either be too much, feeling like talking about perhaps things of a psychological nature, making it in conjunct to Pluto and Scorpio, or being too secret or being overly secretive about it and not feeling like talking about it at all. So it's just something to think about. I do believe there is something that's not right with Antonio Brown. It hurts me to say this. I'm a fan of him. I'm a big football fan. I like watching exciting players, and when he's on the field, and I mean he's one of the best receivers out there. But the thing about it is, it's like the saying goes, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. And he understands, I'm sure there's repercussions for actions, and this might be something that he may desire to just retire and not come back. And if that's something that he wants to do, then that's something he's going to do, and he's not even going to worry about it. Another thing I noticed though in his chart too, is that there's transit Pluto. I mean, that's been in the solar slash sunrise chart in the 7th house, and Pluto can be about obliteration. And the fact is, the 7th house is about competition. So this is something where maybe this is a time where competition that he's involved in the NFL may be coming to an end. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to needed to state, if that was really important or not. But it's really, again, it is a shame what has happened with him, and I hope that things turn out better for him in the future, and that because I do believe there are people that care. Tom Brady, the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, many of you may know. He's a really legendary quarterback, and he actually spoke out in a way which he was being very, sending, positive, statements really about you, Antonio Brown, and how he does something about that he does have love and care from people, and I guess it would meaning presumably including Tom Brady. Tom Brady's Venus in nurturing Cancer actually makes a tight conjunction to Antonio Brown's Chiron in Cancer. It's not really much of a shocker. So he wants to give his love and care toward any suffering that Antonio Brown, to help Antonio Brown with any suffering that he might be going through. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.